What is the biggest problem affecting your PDR business? What is the one thing holding you back from taking the next step? What do you need to change to get the business growth you want? All these questions have the same answer. It's your mindset. My name is Corey Kleinfeld, and this is the PDR Coach Podcast, where I coach you on mindset around yourself and your PDR business. Now let's get started. Welcome back to the PDR Coach Podcast. On a recent podcast, as you may remember, I think 3 or 4 podcasts ago, probably should have checked that, I have discussed how you are going to change your business moving forward past 2021 and all the changes that have happened in the market. And one of those options I talked about was adding additional services to your business. And today we have an actual option to add to your business. Full disclosure, this is the option that we chose to add to our services at DentPro in Sacramento. Today on the podcast, we have a service. It is called RestorFX. And today we have Ryan, the Director of Center Development, on the show to talk about how they got started, what the product does, and how it can add to your PDR business. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, Corey.
I'm excited for a lot of things, for starting to do RestorFX here very soon, and to have you on to talk about an option for other people. I like sharing stuff, and I like bringing people on that can help change other people's businesses. And so I'm excited.
Awesome. We are too.
We're going to start in the beginning, and I don't even know this, so I'm curious as well. When and how did RestorFX get started?
Actually was started in Vancouver, Canada, about 20 years ago. Alex Kay, the founder, and his wife Nadia. Alex used to work with his dad, who did mobile repairs for dealerships in Vancouver there. And as they were doing their typical scratch repairs and everything along those lines, they started to work on a formula because they figured there had to be a way to just apply a new layer of clear over a vehicle to permanently fill in these scratches that everyone is, constantly wet sanding and buffing out. They sort of came up with a basic formula that kind of worked, but Alex really saw the writing on the wall for it and took the formula and had it developed further and has been working with it ever since.
That's pretty awesome. So just as an idea of what RestorFX does, you kind of touched on it a little bit there.
Yep.
Can you explain? I know there's some stuff you obviously can't talk about. That's proprietary. And that's great. But what does it do? Like what is the RestorFX model?
RestorFX is setting a new industry. It's the best way to think of it is PCR technology, paintless clear coat repair. And that describes it in so many ways. It's a way to permanently repair the cosmetic damages to a vehicle that don't go past the surface of the paint color. In other words, all hazing, scratching, swirling, damages to the clear coat that typically would require costly buffing, polishing, and lengthy procedures can be repaired through RestorFX. Because of the way the product works and our 10 micron buildup of new product on top, we can actually repair things that typically detailing cannot.
Fascinating. I had a Tahoe recently, about 6 months ago. Well, I still have the Tahoe, but we parked it outside. It's older. It's like 14 years old. And the clear, I haven't even asked you guys this, but the clear coat was peeling on it. Literally. Paint was good. Clear coat was bubbling up, peeling off, etc. Is that possible? This is a completely random question, but
we can improve the, however, if we had caught a disconnect from the actual paint surface, we could have repaired it for you. So bleached out sun damage, that sort of idea. Places like Arizona, Miami, Texas, California.
So that's kind of the limit, obviously. I mean, it makes sense that you can't do
that. We can't repair what's not there. And because of the thickness of factory clear coat being so thick, we can't make the transition smooth enough for the RestorFX to minimize it. Percent. Also, because there's a chemical adhesion process that happens between the factory clear coat and the RestorFX coat, where the clear coat's removed, it just doesn't have anything to adhere to. So it will add a lot of shine to it. It will clean it up, make it look better, but it's by no means
it's different.
Permanent repair.
So you're a paintless clear coat repair. That's more of a replacement at that point.
Correct.
So you got to catch a little earlier.
Exactly.
Noted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oxidation type of stuff.
Oxidation. Yeah, exactly. So where you start to
That's
get the faded paint, where it's
yeah,
gone dull, where it's starting to go chalky white.
yeah.
And what that is actually oxidization is an organic thing that happens, and it happens underneath the clear coat layer, and it starts to come up and out. With RestorFX, we can remove a lot of that layer, apply the RestorFX on top, and with the new 10 microns, we're actually sealing it in to stop the oxidization from happening.
Yeah, and the 10 microns is like is a measurement of thickness, which is, I mean,
virtually zero. Yeah, it's
I mean, microns. I don't know how big microns are, but they're tiny.
Well, an average car finish is about 200 to 250 microns total. So we're only adding 10 on top.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Very, very small percentage of that. So this RestorFX that Adam created, to what's that?
Alex.
Sorry, I read Adam down here, but I meant Alex.
It's okay.
That Alex created. Is this a one of a kind still? I know it was when he created it, but is this the only type thing of its kind in the industry?
There are companies that claim to do what we do. They claim to have the same product and that they can get the same results. I can tell you from experience, and I've seen pretty much every other product that claims to be like us. Nothing can do what we do in the way we do it. None of their products are self-leveling. None of the products are chemical resistant. None of them create a permanent bond, even though they advertise it. You can identify within 2 minutes of looking at a vehicle whether it's an actual RestorFX vehicle or one of our competitor products.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And just to we probably should have started here instead of just with RestorFX, a little bit about you, just to go back to like, what your experience is, that you can have these conversations that's saying how many cars you've seen and all that stuff. Talk about, you just told me right before we started, but talk about, your experience with this product and with, building a company around it.
For sure. Well, I was first introduced when I was a used car manager in Vancouver. Oh, nice. And Alex was actually servicing my dealership. And it's kind of a funny story that I'll mention. It all, like, I knew the product worked, but of course, like everybody, I was kind of hesitant and skeptical. Okay, how long does it really last? I'm selling this car, a month down the road, is the customer like, what happened?
Yeah.
But I bought a brand new Toyota Tundra Crew Max, loaded, black. It was beautiful. And we lived in a logging town called Squamish. And I went to work one day and my wife asked to borrow the truck because her and her sister were going to go up to the lake. And what she didn't tell me, or what she didn't know, is that it was overgrown with tree brush. And so my brand new truck with 1,000 kilometers was scratched from headlight to tail light, from the windshield to the step bars. And I was just... I was loading her stuff, man. She was moving out. We were done. That was it. It was over. And then Alex comes up to me. He's like, no, I can fix it. I can fix it. So he took the truck and brought it back. And I'll be honest, it looked better than when I got it from Toyota. And, after about 2 months of playing around with this stuff and realizing, no, this is on there. This is permanent. Those scratches are repaired. They're not just hidden. They're fixed. That's when I started to go, there's something to this. I have a background from Ontario. I'm born and raised in Toronto. So I started to talk to Alex, and we organized me moving back to Ontario and starting distribution for Ontario here. I opened my first shop in 2014 in August. We've been in business for 7 years. We now have a 5,000 square foot facility. We process 135 cars a month, on average 5 to 6 a day, and get up to 7. We opened up 14 separate licenses in Ontario, all doing similar successful business. And that's when International asked me to come jump on board as center development. And my role basically now with International is to, once somebody's done training and they've decided to open up their shop and they've got everything going and they've done their practice cars, is to help them grow the brand, help them come in, teach them how to market, how to scale, how to replicate all this, how to make things bigger. We don't want to just teach you how to use a product and then say, okay, good luck, off you go, which a lot of PDR business is about. We actually want to help you grow it and scale it. And me being in that role from somebody who's actually produced one of the top 5 centers in North America, I'm in a great position where there's between me and Alex, you're not going to bring up something that either of us has never seen or heard of before. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's exactly why I should have started there when I asked, like, is RestorFX one of a kind? And you say you can tell. I've seen enough cars. About one, you've been in the car business for your whole life, probably, because a lot of people.
Yeah, since I was 18. Yep.
Yeah, and then made it to used car manager. You were in charge of reconditioning stuff, and you've been down the road of making the choices for reconditioning, and now you have owned a reconditioning business for 7 years. So when you're saying, you can tell a RestorFX card versus another car, that's why we should believe you. Plus RestorFX saved your marriage, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's a good info to have. Oh man. Okay. So that's fantastic. I'm going to get into like a little bit of how it works. A little bit more, some application and some because you're the director of center development, what it actually looks like for a dent guy. But real quick, before that, you actually do offer, the company RestorFX offers other options besides the clear coat repair option, which is the RestorFX. There's a few other things. Do you want to talk? I know they're more accessory items, and you're not going to build their business off of that particular thing necessarily, but can you talk about them? I know one is Clearfx, and then there's several others.
Yeah, so one of the other products that we offer for a center is Clearfx, which is our graphene-based autogenetic ceramic-based coating, and we offer that for high gloss vehicles, for matte finishes, and for all interiors as well. And that's something that we have designed to work specifically with RestorFX directly, but can also be used on, say, a brand new vehicle that was just brought in, that has maybe 500 miles on it. And then the other thing that we offer is our full numbers line, which is a set of products that are professional grade that you can use in your shop to clean, maintain, and support your customers ongoing, but also stuff that you can retail out of the front of your store. So when your customers are asking you, okay, now what do I do? Now, how do I take care of it? What do I clean it with? This and that. You have an entire line of products that you can actually sell them. So it takes you from just being, somebody that performs a repair and then they go off and you hope you don't ever see them again because it means they got more dents, to they're going to be ongoing support, sort of like more of a hair salon where here's all the products you need. And once they're used to it, they're going to be coming back and ongoing for that.
Yeah. And so the Clearfx developed to use after a RestorFX, after you repair the clear coat, you put essentially a ceramic coating. Can we say that, ceramic coating on it?
Yeah. We call
just
it
because we know what that means.
Exactly. Maybe
it's a little different. I get it, but that's a division of a service that we would potentially add to your business, a ceramic coating or whatever.
Correct.
How does Clearfx differ or stack up against I should probably know, Geotechnic, I think, is a big one, or is that PPF? Geotechnic, yeah.
Ceramic Pro, IGL, those are the major guys.
How does, in your opinion, how does the ceramic coating that Clearfx offers stack up? Or is it different?
All these products are quality products. They've been in the market for a long time. I'm not going to say that they don't work or anything like that. Yeah, because they clearly do.
Yeah, they do.
The main difference with Clearfx versus all the other ceramic coats is that we use autogenetic technology, which basically means instead of a nano size molecule, we're using an atto, which is even smaller. So instead of creating a layer on top of protection, it's absorbing into the paint itself and hardening the car's finish to a 10H hardness. So instead of just sort of a layer that can eventually wear down and you don't know what happens, we're actually hardening the paint. So even though the hydrophobic properties may wear down over time, the hardness and the durability remains because you have to mechanically remove that through sanding or polish. We use a graphene base, which is basically a carbon molecule mixed in, which the way it was explained to me that makes the most sense is think of ceramic as mortar. The graphene is more like bricks, and the ceramic acts as the mortar is around it. So it creates an even harder to penetrate durable layer on top. We also admit that these products, with everyday use, like an average person that's using their vehicle to go to the grocery store or take the kids to soccer.
Not parked in a
You
garage.
know, yeah, exactly. You know, not a countless Ferrari that's being, driven twice a year.
Yeah.
And these products with daily use will last 2 years or so, 2 to 3 years on average. So we created an entire system to refresh that for the client, that they can come in and get that completely refreshed back up for a fraction of the cost. But I would say our number one difference between the two is cost of application, because the average ceramic program is $1,200 to $1,500 for the 3-year plan.
Right.
And it reaches over $3,000 for the lifetime. But also the ability of RestorFX to bring a vehicle back, because a lot of people don't get ceramic when they first buy the car. What they do is they have a 2020 Mercedes with 32,000 miles on it, and it's starting to look old. And that's normally when they start going, hey, I want to get the ceramic coated. And these detailers are charging them upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 to polish them back.
Yeah.
On top of the ceramic application. With RestorFX, you can do that in 24 hours, give them a superior result, and you can do both the RestorFX and the Clearfx for less than they would pay for just the ceramic coat.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Talk about the difference between adding RestorFX can be under the designation of a paint correction, a paint repair. At least that's how the market will think about it. At least tell us, the guys who would potentially add this, what the difference between a typical detail paint correction is versus the RestorFX application.
Yeah. Well, and what we like to say is it's replacing paint correction. It's something different. Paint correction.
Yeah, it's not.
Exactly. It's as described, it's actually correcting the paint, whereas ours is actually repairing, as you paintless clear coat repair. So you caught that. The big thing with paint correction is there's people that are really good at it, and there's people that are really bad at it. And I'm
just
sure
like anything.
Yeah,
we got those guys too in PDR
industry, there's a guy that does the whole car for $80 and it looks like he never touched it, and there's a guy that charges $120 for the little dime size and dent on the fender, but you never know what was there. So you get the same thing with detailing. The guys that are really good, they're going to charge for it. Like, you're going to pay a fortune, so you're probably going to go somewhere in the middle. But what they do is use a series of pastes and sanding to slowly remove layers of your clear coat until they can either remove enough of it that the scratch has been removed, or that they've blended that transition between the scratch and the clear coat so smoothly that the eye doesn't catch it in the light anymore. Either way, what you're doing is compromising the original finish of the car by slowly actually removing layers of your factory clear. In modern cars, that becomes an issue because the actual top 2 layers of the clear coat are the UV protection. That's why oxidizing cars is becoming more and more prominent, as you notice in southern states, where at a certain age, the cars start to oxidize a lot more frequently than they did in, say, the 90s and the 80s. And it's because paint manufacturers put the UV layer on the outside. So between 2 really good depolishes, you've burnt that UV protection off.
Fascinating. So classic or traditional paint correction is removing, some of the clear to make it look shiny again, just like a wet sand, essentially. Which we do in PDR, so people understand, or a toll cut or something. And RestorFX is adding to it.
Correct.
And has UV protection?
It has UV protection. So RestorFX, what we do is a series of sands to prepare the surface of the vehicle. And it's not because there's a mechanical process. It's in order just to ensure the surface is clean. Then once we apply the RestorFX, there's a chemical bond between the original factory finish and the RestorFX that levels out and creates that layer 10 microns thick. Once that bond dries, we guarantee it for life to never peel, fade, discolor, or delaminate. But since you're not compromising the original clear coat of the vehicle in any way, shape, or form, you're maintaining the integrity of the original finish, which is really key. And because the application is so consistent around the vehicle, even if you had somebody that was measuring with a micrometer, we're still within the factory variances of original factory finish.
So for the people that ask, does it look like it's going to get repainted? Like, is it going to look like it got repainted or something because the micron level change? It won't.
No. Manufacturers can't tell the difference between a vehicle RestorFX and not RestorFX.
That's awesome. Just visually.
Visually, they can. You know,
Of course they
if
can.
they really wanted to, they could figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're never compromising the original. Like, it's not like a repaint or anything. So if you have something that's, you know, really key to keep the original finish on, like a Porsche 911 or, you know, AMG Mercedes,
right,
in no way, shape, or form does this imitate repainting the vehicle. You don't get the dust marks, you don't get the fish eyes, and you don't get the rough edges along the sides of the seams.
right. So I mean, all the words you're saying is clear. This is why we chose this to be in addition to our paintless dent repair, the paintless clear coat repair, for all the people listening. We've looked for a long period of time to add services. Over the years, we've actually done like a lot of you guys have had over the years with Dent Pro in Sacramento, and Dent Pro as a larger company has done a lot of things, from touch up to repainting, other services like that just never really fit with. It was a separate division. It was like, oh, we sold people on paintless dent repair because it keeps the finish. It keeps everything original. It is the closest thing we have to just going back and completely erasing what has happened. And then we're like, oh, we can also repaint it too, in case that doesn't work. And it just never felt right. But this is so similar to paintless dent repair on the paint visual side. That's why we feel like it's such a good complement to what we do. We still don't repaint vehicles. We still don't replace parts. We still don't act like a body shop. We're an automotive appearance company. And this is a great addition to that. That's the way we saw it. And so, listening to your words, like saying that everybody should, you know, be understanding that this is like the closest thing I've ever seen in doing this for 20 years to what we do with paintless dent repair, but on the paint side, which is exciting. Like I said at the beginning, it's exciting. So
that's exactly how we want it to look. Like,
yeah.
I always say, you know, if 10 years ago I came up to you and said an electric car was going to be able to do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds and get 400 miles to a charge, you'd be like, you're insane, man. Like, those are golf carts, whatever, they're novelty. So the idea that the only way to maintain your car is a series of systems made in the 70s is insane to us. And that's what we are. Like, we're just that next iteration. We're that paintless clear coat repair. It's just that next logical step that needed to happen on how to maintain and fix the vehicle for the average consumer.
Yeah, it filled in a niche that didn't have an option before. Right.
Exactly.
It went from, you know, some scratches to basically, if it was really minor, you could buff it out by removing clear coat. If it got too major, you had to repaint, and you kind of fill in that gap of all those years in between.
Exactly.
Of how to solve the problem.
And that's exactly where we are. You know, you take an average family person, think of your neighbor next door, maybe 335 BMW.
Yeah.
He's not going to spend $2,000 getting it polished because he knows his kids are going to destroy it again. He's going to run it through the Husky car wash.
Yeah.
He's not going to get it repainted because that's massive expenses to get it done properly. And if you don't get it done, and plus weeks he's out of his car. However, is it a viable option to have his car gone overnight and get it back and it's reset to the way it was brand new?
Yeah. For way less than $2,000, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, so for fractions of the price.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about, you know, kind of how you're putting this stuff on the vehicle. So let's go down that road as much as you can share without you know, sharing the proprietary info. What does it look like? What do you do? So someone comes in, drops their car off. It's got scratches all down the side of the brand new black Tundra.
Yep.
What do we do?
Not again.
Yeah, not again. Yeah. Sorry, divorce. I'm bringing up like bad memories.
No. So a vehicle gets dropped off. Obviously, we do a walk around with the customer and assess the main concerns of the vehicle. But once it's inside the shop, we'll have our techs. They'll do a series of cleanings just to make sure the surface is ready to handle all the sanding that we need to do. We'll do some heavier sands on larger scratches that are on, you know, that catch your fingernail and are a bit deeper. And then I mentioned we'll do a series of very mild sands just to clean the surface of the vehicle. Again, we're not trying to, you know, do the body shop technique of roughing it up. We're just trying to make sure that all the waxes and silicones and road tar and grime has been removed. So we're dealing with just the original clear coat and nothing in between. After that, we do a series of chemical scrubs to prepare the surface of the paint, help clean it, and also to reactivate the clear coat so it starts to actually get that pores open kind of feel. And then we do a controlled application of the RestorFX product. There's no aeration, there's no runoff, there's no dripping. You don't need a paint booth. You can do it in just a standard unit. All we say is it's got to be climate controlled where you can control the temperature, and it's got to be dust free.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. So that's the kind of the rundown of what it looks like.
Correct.
We didn't mention that specifically, but and people should be aware, if you did want to add this, you have to have a shop. Obviously, it's not. It's not
something you can do on location. It's not a mobile service that you can do.
Yeah. For a couple of reasons. One, dust free. Two, climate controlled, because you have to apply.
There's a 6 to 8 hour cure time that we need to have it in a controlled temperature.
Yeah, and lots of lighting.
And lots of lighting. You want it to be bright.
Very bright.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, and Clearfx is a similar type of application process.
Clearfx is actually kind of easier. It works more like a standard ceramic. It's an apply and buff off. It doesn't take a lot of training to use the Clearfx properly. Whereas RestorFX, there is a learning curve, which is why we have the 5-day on-site training, and then we give you enough product to do your 20 safe cars, friends, neighbors, cousins,
your own.
And then Alex, our technical director and founder, will fly out to your location and spend 3 days on site with you, just refining everything and making it right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's like PDR. It's going to take practice, and I always say it takes about 40 to 50 cars for it just to go click, and I get it. And then it takes about 100 cars to where you're like, why was this even hard?
Yeah, for sure. And so you said it was like PDR. However, we'll talk about how it's not like PDR, because 40 to 50 cars for a PDR tech, you are still a straight up hack.
Yeah. You're still
100 cars, still pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So that's the difference for me. As people who follow me know, my dad started Dent Pro in 1991, started a franchise of Dent Pro in 1991, excuse me. And built up and down, up to 10 techs, down to 2 techs, back up to 8 techs, down to like back and forth. And as you know, a lot of people go start their own entrepreneurial journey, some nicely and some not nicely, but they leave. And scaling a PDR company is fantastically difficult. It really is, especially in an area that doesn't get hail. And so this can potentially change that, in my opinion. To have a shop that offers more than just PDR is huge. And when you're in a hail prone area with a PDR shop and you get hail, let's say every other year, it's a little easier to open up a shop and be successful and get into the 7 figures of revenue and do all those things. But when you're in Northern California and it's sunny and beautiful all the time, it never hails, that's difficult. It just is. We've had a shop for a long period of time. We've gone through growing the shop, not growing the shop, getting people to come there, going back to mobile. Out here in California, mobile is huge. I mean, especially in 2020, there wasn't not anything you couldn't get to come to your house for you, from Amazon to food to whatever. So people like mobile. So how do you open up a successful PDR shop that needs to do 15 to 20 grand in revenue a month in order to justify having the shop, period. It needs to do more than you can do mobile. And I think this is the potential option. So let's talk a little bit. So it's different in PDR because hiring a PDR tech and training a PDR tech is not 20 to 50 cars. It's a year minimum, probably more than that, to get to a level where they can do what we would call a smash repair. Years and years and years, unless they're special. And if they're special, then they're not going to work for you forever. Let's be honest. Anyways, so that being said, to put it in context for all the PDR guys listening and hopefully nodding their heads like, yeah, I feel you on that one, Corey. It's different and it's scalable. So let's talk about how you're the director of center development. You've done this yourself. How can this complement a PDR business and help it scale?
Well, as you know, we've been having a lot of success in the PDR industry with different technicians, and it's for a multitude of reasons. Some of you touched on, as you said, you're going to spend a year and a half training a tech, and it's not going to take him long to figure out, hey, if I go get $3,000 in tools in my car, I'm dealing with these clients, I can just take them and keep going, right? So you're basically training your own competition. So it's very difficult. With RestorFX, we don't do multiple locations into a market. When we sign up a representative or a licensee to work with us, they become the dedicated person for that territory. And that's predetermined when you sign your contract. So you don't ever have to worry, like we don't do the ceramic pro approach where it's like, oh yeah, Corey really likes it, but so does Bill next door and Jeff across the street gets it. And don't forget about Mary down the road, 2 streets over. And no, we're not like that. We give one to a dedicated area. It's yours. People aren't allowed to market into it. You're not supposed to market out of it, but if there's an other open area, say your neighboring market's empty, and you want to grow into a new location, obviously we're going to work with you to help develop multiple centers along the way.
Sure.
The other thing we notice with PDR techs is the guys that are really good are starting to get a bit older, and they don't want to be out in the parking lots all day. They don't want to be walking the lots. It's a rainy day. I got to be outside. It's snowing. If you're in, an area like me, it's like, oh, well, I'm shut down for the day. It's too cold. The metal's not responding. I got to wait until they bring it inside and heat up. This gives them an option to actually create a brick and mortar location where they can start to have control over their business again, as you were saying. The RestorFX side can easily fund the average rent of a business like that, plus profit on the side, so that you can focus on your dent business and growing it the way you want to grow it. And lastly, when it comes to PDR versus RestorFX, like just if you were to sell your business right now, Corey, what is it actually worth? Because Dent Pro has got a certain reputation, but it's you they're buying. It's your skill, it's your knowledge, it's your passion, right? So really, once this is all said and done, you got a business that's worth, half your client list, because they'll stick with the new guy as long as he can proficiently repair dents. RestorFX is something tangible that allows you to have something that you can sell, transfer to your family, transfer to your son, your daughter to run, something you can liquidate later on, to actually have something that you built that's worth something to sell.
Yeah. And that, quite frankly, I think anybody that's listening to my podcast that's what they want. I wouldn't say all PDR techs want that, but if you're listening to my podcast, the PDR coach, and trying to get better and grow your business, that's what you want. It can be achieved with PDR. You can start a shop with just PDR, have some technicians as well, an R&I guy, a big retail base, an email list, all that stuff, and potentially sell your company. The way we have it set up now, we can't sell it for shit, basically nothing. Trucks and potentially some of the client list, and it's minimal. If you can't fix the dent, the person buying it can't fix the dent. The value to them is very low. Exactly. This can potentially change that. Sure. And as far as scaling goes, the RestorFX applicators that are going to start working for me and working for other people are somewhat skilled, but not nearly as skilled as you have to be be a PDR tech as far as hours in. And so that's way more scalable.
Yeah. And with the training program that we do, we could take an average person that's never had anything to do in the auto industry before, and within 3 weeks have them able to produce, a 98% perfect result.
Yeah. And they'll make some mistakes. We get that because that's what happens, but they can do that in 3 weeks, not in literal years.
Exactly.
So when thinking about scaling that's huge. It's huge. And we're talking about paying guys hourly. We're not talking, because every PDR, 99% of PDR techs out there are paid on a percentage commission basis, which is a very high percentage because we have to. This is different.
Correct.
I always recommend paying, and we will too, paying more than probably a little bit extra than you think is worth if you find somebody that you really want to keep around, but it's not 50% of the ticket.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So let's talk about that a little bit too, for whatever you're willing to share as far as, I mean, this is going to, differ per city. It's going to differ a little bit, but I know you guys have an idea of what you charge for, what you kind of pay people, what break even is. You said you can pay for a shop and the labor and a little bit of extra at a certain number of cars. Do you want to talk a little bit about the general theory behind that?
Yeah. So obviously, depending on where a person's coming in, someone in Sacramento, the rent's going to be a little bit higher than say, Decatur, Illinois. But the hard material costs for a RestorFX application is right around $76 per vehicle. So
if
on
you
top
don't screw up,
even then, even if you do, it's not a massive amount of cost to correct if something goes wrong, and actually let's touch on that quickly, that the main difference between RestorFX and say paint repair and even PDR is if we put the coating on and let's say we don't like how it looks, say there's a run or it just didn't cover or we're just not happy with it. Yeah. We actually have a 15-minute window that we can remove the coating and start over.
Nice.
So that's why I'm saying training's really easy, because if you see something you don't like, unlike paint where it's like, well, now I got to start over again and all this, you can remove it right there, correct the issue on the spot, and then go forward. So that's awesome. Why training's really quick.
Yep.
So huge. Imagine you're working a dent, you go a little too far, crack the paint. And now just imagine being able to reset that three.
Hold on, I'm going to undo that push.
Yeah, exactly. But you can do that with RestorFX, which is what makes it great. But yeah, our hard material costs are about $76 a vehicle. The average wholesale price across North America right now, we're noticing, is right at around $400 to $500 a vehicle, depending on market. Retail pricing is anywhere from $700 to $800 and higher if you get something that's a little more unique, say a Rolls Royce or something. So you can see the value, if you start taking in, as soon as you get to 2 cars a day on average, which is really easy, you can start to see how those numbers really start to escalate.
Yeah. And the labor is going to be vary as well, but somewhere between 15 to low 20s.
Yeah. And again, it depends on the market, right?
Yeah. California, we're going to be higher. It's this.
You're going to be higher. And actually the places I find in like the Midwest that are, the smaller towns with the big factory that employs 90% of the town, those are the guys that are having a hard time because the factories pay stupid money and they got to compete with that, because otherwise the guy's just going to go get a floor job.
Interesting. So. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so you guys can see here why it's a great addition to PDR to your business, how you can actually scale it a little more. If you want to open up a shop and you just can't quite get over that little hump of man, mobile's too easy, I can make too much money, it's hard to replicate, blah, blah, blah. This could potentially be the way you can do that. Do you have anything else that you want to touch on for that I didn't roads I didn't lead us down that I missed for us?
I would say the one thing that we're really looking for, and people ask, what do we want in a new center?
Yeah.
You're good at what you do already. You've built a successful business. We're not here to tell you your business isn't successful or what you're doing is wrong. What we're looking for is people that realize that this is an opportunity not to completely change their business, but to allow them to have something a little bit more regulated, something that they can have less control over, and allow to grow, to produce the time for them to focus on their dent business. I don't want PDR techs that are going to show up and say, okay, I'm giving up PDR forever, I'm just going to focus on RestorFX, or I'm going to do both at the same time. It doesn't work. You need to focus on what you do and grow your business and use what you do really well, which is your sales rapport, your customer relations, be the brand, and have that team in place to help you process the vehicles.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where you were touching on how to make it a fixed ops sort of center. Don't go in it alone. You want to plan to have a team with you, because they're going to be processing the cars while you're out marketing.
Yeah. And I'll flat out say what it seems like you don't want to say. If you're going to do this, hire somebody. Do not do it yourself, period. And Ryan maybe you're not allowed to say that or whatever, but don't do it yourself.
No, I want you to learn how to do it, but what I want you to
agree.
do is not spend it as your full focus.
Right. Yeah. Play backup. Yeah. Just like you would for a PDR tech. You got to let them figure out how to do it. And you got to know how to do it so you can be there to watch it happen and be like, oh, I remember this from training, or here, try this. But PDR, the most income that a PDR tech can make themselves is pushing on dents. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be replaced by you doing RestorFX. You won't make as much money, in my opinion. But if you add this to your business and bring somebody in to apply RestorFX, it's an additional, so you can fix dents and have the business that does RestorFX as well. That's the way I see it. And I talked to a lot of people before going, committing to doing RestorFX, and everyone's like, hire somebody. Don't before you have somebody in mind to do applications for you before you even go. They should go to training with you. And so that's, if you're not in a position that you're ready to hire people yet, or don't have a shop or whatever, keep this on the radar, but don't, and I don't want to say anything rude to you guys, but don't sign up if you don't have a shop yet. Well, you might not even let them. I don't know. Don't sign up if you don't have a shop yet and you don't have someone in mind to help you do this, and you're busy with PDR. Just figure out how you can make this happen, but it's not for you for tomorrow. That's my opinion.
We work with people, and we do get a lot of people that want to make sure their areas are secured, right? If you're
fair enough.
Let's say Kansas City, there's probably a few dent guys, like 3 or 4 guys that listen to the podcast at the same time. And one's going, I got to make sure I lock it in before somebody else does. We'll work with those people and we'll help them. And that's part of the business model that makes us so successful, is from every step of the way, from the moment you sign up till the moment you're done training, to the moment you're doing 6 cars a day.
Yeah.
We're all hands-on, and we work with you. We have people that are sending us videos of shops they're looking at, and we're giving them suggestions. They're asking us about, I know this guy and this guy and this guy. And, sometimes we'll do custom trainings where we really allow another person to come in because, we're going to be a big shop and I need 2 guys that are trained, not just me. And so we always are constantly working with people. So even if you're not in that position, but you're just knowing that in the next 6 to 8 months, you want to be in that position, do reach out to us. We'll work with you.
Okay. So yeah, I fully attest to your hands-on. You guys have been phenomenal through my life changes that I've seen over the last couple months. And you're right. I did misspeak on that, and I shouldn't have, because I was thinking, so maybe this is a better way to put it. If you want to go that route, and you have for a long time, and you're listening to this podcast, you're like, this is potentially the way that I could possibly do that. Call them, get signed up for it, go down the road of finding somebody to hire, getting a shop and all that stuff, and then go to training. I guess I should say, don't go to training by yourself, expecting yourself to come back and do paintless dent repair and RestorFX yourself.
Correct.
That's what I should have said. But yes, if you want to get started down that path, I fully 100% acknowledge that you guys have been great in every area and will help guide someone new down that path. Like, what kind of shop should I have? How big should it be? Etc. I don't think we touched on this though. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing why you shouldn't do PDR and RestorFX. It takes 4 hours, right? Ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The average prep time for a single person is 4 hours, and the average install time is 1 hour.
Yeah. Okay. So, you can't be have 6-7 hours of dents and then toss in a RestorFX real quick.
Correct.
Into your daily mix.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I misspoke on that. I was passionate about it, but you corrected me, so thank you for doing that.
We're all friends.
Yeah. You guys have recently started going to MTE and talking to more PDR technicians because from my perspective, you've realized that we're a good fit for adding this to our business. What's your take on that? Is that why?
It partially, and what we're seeing is a lot of the reasons we address that, that you guys are in the position now where you're starting to go, hey, I'm starting to get to my mid 30s, early 40s, and that sort of, I don't want to be doing this till I'm 70. Where's my exit plan? What is this worth? Can I sell it? How am I going to do this? Who's going to take over for me? And this is just offering them a viable option to continue doing the dent repair business that they love, but giving them an opportunity to also at the same time build another business piggybacking on. PDR technicians have dealership contracts, so they do get a lot of wholesale business. They have retail reputations if they're any good. The market already knows who they are, and they've spent a long time building that. So bringing a new product in for them to their existing clientele of dealerships and retail clients, that the trust issues there, right? Which is one of the top 3 buying things that a customer has. And the trust is built. So the transition from being able to just, here's our new product, let me show you what it does, and building it from there. We have one technician that, and I will mention him, it's Ryan Brewer in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Talk to Ryan.
Yeah.
Before signing up.
Yeah. He, within 6 months, he was doing 6 to 7 cars a day. We call him and hey, how are things? Do you need help? And this, I don't get to talk to Ryan a lot because he really doesn't need help scaling his business. Right. But I'm blown away with how this, and he is too. He's shocked with just how fast it just started to steamroll on him.
Yeah. Good dude for sure. Smart guy. And I talked to him a lot, and he was basically the guy that was like, this was a while ago as we're deciding to do this, just don't do it. Redo your shop. Just understand that you're going to spend money to redo your shop, make it really nice, make it someplace people want to go, and don't do it by yourself. Just don't. He was like, if you're thinking about it and you're going to do it by yourself, don't. Just because it was straightforward. He was a good dude. First time I ever talked to him, but really knowledgeable. And the numbers he was sharing with me that he's doing, I was like, okay. All right.
Yeah. And that's what we say. We don't want you to replace your business. That's why we're saying don't do it alone. You don't replace your business. Build a team, get those people that you've never wanted to hire because you're training competition, realize you're not anymore. Is get them making you passive income off your client list while you're focusing on what kept your business in business in the first place
for the last 20 years. Okay. So if someone wants to learn more, or talk to you guys directly, one, I guess, how much are we talking to, start secure Kansas City and start down the process? And then 2, how to what do they do? Call your cell, or email you? What's up? What do you got?
The best thing to do would be to I'm part of the center of development. They can reach out to me directly. I'm always willing to take a phone call and talk to somebody. But the best person to probably get in touch with would be Adam Gower. He's our sales director for North America. And you can reach him very easily at adam@restorefx.com. He replies very quickly. His cell phone number will be in there, and what he'll do is schedule a phone call and start going down the path of, is this the right fit for you? And is it the right fit for us? We don't want to just sell licenses that never do anything. We want to make sure that we're both on the same page and that we're going to grow together. So that's the only way both of our businesses get busier.
And I fully believe that. Adam was great.
Adam's amazing.
That's why I said Adam in the beginning. I realized after
that's okay.
I didn't say Alex. Because he's the one I've spent the most time with, to be honest. How much? Can you share that? I don't know. You don't have to.
The average franchise cost is $25,000 US dollars.
Okay.
But get in touch with Adam. There are options for us towards, limiting markets or different promotions that he's running at a certain time that I'm not privy to. There's also payment options available. So if somebody's like, hey, I'm seeing this, I know the value, but listen, I got 2 kids and one's going to college, I just can't pull that kind of cash out and still have a family because my wife will leave me. We have options to help. We have options.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's the full rundown of RestorFX. There's been a lot of industry talk about adding services across other podcasts too, not just mine. In my PDR 20 group mastermind, all over the place. And so this is a real viable service that you can add to your business, one that we're adding to our business very soon. And I'm excited.
Yeah.
Go back to the
And
beginning.
I think it's just such a symbiotic fit because you guys
Yeah.
have spent years, like you said, focusing on non-invasive repairs for a vehicle.
Yeah.
This is just such a symbiotic fit
Mhm.
between what you've done for 20 years and what our product does, that it's a non-invasive way to repair the finish now. So now you can pop the dents and make it look brand new, all of which are not being painted, not compromising the original. I think it's going to be exciting, and it just works so well in the industry.
I agree, man. Well, thank you for coming on, spending the time. I know you're trying to move houses and you're sitting there spending an hour with me looking at boxes probably. So I appreciate it.
It's all good.
And I know that you and I are going to talk soon.
For sure.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the PDR Coach Podcast. If you got any value from this podcast and want to do something for me, then the best way to do that is to subscribe to the podcast and give me a rating and review. If you want to know more about me, then you can find me on Instagram by searching for the PDR Coach, or find me on my website at coachcoreyk.com, CORYK.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week.